For more than 20 years, I've traveled the world to communities both large and small. Most have called themselves smart cities, with the latest and greatest technology, smart parking, smart traffic, lighting, and transit. But I wanted more than just smart. I was looking for what made the community a great place to live, to work, to start a family, launch a business, and make room for the next generation. My question was, how smart is your city, really? Well, let's find out, here on Intelligence Test. There was an early employee of Apple named Guy Kawasaki. He went on to become an author and a venture capitalist, but he's the guy who wrote a phrase that may be familiar to you. It's better to be lucky than smart. Now that applies not only to people, but to the places that they live. Not every city or region can be lucky. So around the world, cities have invested in becoming smart, while others are making investments with the goal of becoming intelligent. What's the difference? Today's conversation will reveal all. Joining me are Raimundo Rodulfo of the city of Coral Gables in the Miami metro area of Florida, and Rob McCann of the Hamilton Technology Center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Now, Raimundo serves as both CIO and Chief Innovation Officer for the city, which has twice been a top 7 community in ICF's annual awards, and it's received full certification as an intelligent community this year. Now, Rob is a successful entrepreneur who founded not only the Hamilton Technology Center, but Clear Cable, which consults with network developers in the private and public sectors to optimize their technology and resulting business models. He's here because last year Rob served as an ICF auditor, and he evaluated Coral Gables to confirm the information they provided to us for our awards program and also that certification. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's start by painting a picture of Coral Gables. Raimundo, can you describe the city and what you think makes it a special place?
Thank you, Robert and Rob, and hello, everyone. So we are in the center of Miami-Dade County in South Florida. This year is our centennial. So it's 100 years of the City Beautiful. This is a planned community, one of the first planned communities in the United States, founded by a visionary person, George Merrick, in 1925. So he had a great vision about urban planning and quality of life, coming from the City Beautiful and Garden City movements of the 19th century. So he was inspired by Mediterranean revival architecture of European cities from Spain, from France, from Italy, but also he had a vision that was holistic, in my opinion, because the same year that he founded Coral Gables, he also founded the University of Miami, and he donated the land. So we are the home of the University of Miami. And that same year, he also founded the Chamber of Commerce. So he had a vision about quality of life, about the environment and sustainability. He also had a vision about innovation, education, and economic growth. He had a vision about business. So, and we have carried over that foundational vision for 100 years. And today we have also joined over the years, the smart city and intelligent community movements in alignment with that foundational vision of Mr. George Merrick. And this is a city that is called the City Beautiful for a good reason. So it's a beautiful city, and the architecture, the way how the city is upkept, also is a vibrant community. We are a college town. We have the University of Miami, but we also have over 140 multinational corporate headquarters. We have major corporations like Del Monte, like, for example, like FIFA. The headquarters for the World Cup is in Coral Gables, 2 blocks from here. And also multiple big tech or technology companies that have made big IPOs over the past years, multi-billion-dollar IPOs. And Apple, Amazon, they all have big presence in Coral Gables with thousands of square footage for corporate offices. So we are a vibrant community. Our community is very engaged. We also have a walkable neighborhood. So this is a walkable city. So you can live and walk and play in Coral Gables, a lot of public parks. So it's a garden city. So it's a place that I invite everybody that comes to South Florida to visit, like Rob visited us once, and enjoy this community. Our vision, our motto is a world-class city with a neighbor with a hometown feel. A world-class city with a hometown feel.
That's a lovely thing to aim for, Rob. So you did come to visit as part of our certification and awards program. What struck you most about Coral Gables?
Well, visiting Coral Gables was my first exposure to the City Beautiful movement, and it really did show well in that regard. Large medians, wide sidewalks, an ample tree canopy, a great layout of the town. It was somewhere where I literally could walk confidently everywhere about the city. And I think that that was, what drew me in as a great place to be.
Hmm, Interesting. Interesting. Okay, Raimundo, back to you. When I read Rob's audit report, he wrote a very fine report on his visit there. Some phrases really jumped out at me. Hyper connectivity, smart poles, and a city as a platform. So could you describe some of the civic technology where you think Coral Gables is really leading?
Well, yeah, so I joined the city from the telecommunications industry when I was an engineer for many years. So that's my background. As an electrical engineer, I worked with companies like Siemens and Bell South and Lucent. When I joined the city in 2004, so the city didn't have a network, didn't have any infrastructure. We had to build it from the ground up. And from my background in telecommunications, one of the first things that I saw is that we had a big need to have a resilient, high-speed, robust telecommunication layer because we were vulnerable, to hurricanes. I think between 2004 and 5, we underwent, I don't remember how many, but close to 8 major hurricanes from category 1 to 3, like Wilma, for example. And all those hurricanes have a big impact. So we have a lot of overhead utilities from the power utility, and then we lose power. We have a lot of power outages in the aftermath of a hurricane. We also have the big challenge that we have to keep mission critical services because we have a regional emergency operations center in this building, for example, and we have a 911 communication center, and we have first responders and police and fire. So it's a life safety need to have that resilient layer of communications, which is key for first responders. So the first thing that we had to do was build that and build it with multiple layers of redundancies and failovers, automated failovers. So we built our underground resilient fiber network. That was the first thing that we started building. And as a redundancy, we built a gigabit wireless point-to-point and point-to-multi-point mesh network or backbone. And we also leverage the industry, so the Metropolitan Ethernet capacity that we get from major carriers and PSTN like AT&T and Bell South at that time, and now AT&T, and carriers like Comcast and Crown Castle, etc. So we leverage that too, but as a redundancy, not as the main layer. Why? Because you have a lot of overhead utilities still in our region that they are vulnerable to high-speed winds. And also we leverage satellite communications always during all those 20 years and wireless and cellular networks. So we have 5 layers of redundancy. That was key. That's the hyperconnectivity that we are talking about. So those fiber corridors that go north to south and east to west in Coral Gables, and we continue growing. We have built over 50 corridors. We are building 25 more between this and next year, continuing to expanding that capacity. That's the baseline. That's the foundation of our smart city infrastructure. So that's what allows us to have a layer of sensors and connected mobility and connected public safety infrastructure. And that what allows us to have distributed cloud and data. And that's what allows us to have smart systems and intelligence and AI-powered solutions for the citizens. But we have to start with that hyper connectivity. So that we have invested a lot in that telecommunication and broadband infrastructure, also with public Wi-Fi throughout the city, in all downtown areas, in all city facilities, community centers, adult activity centers, youth centers, all public parks. They have public Wi-Fi, free public Wi-Fi, also for digital inclusion, also to help the community connect during normal times, but also in the state of emergency. Small businesses open their doors leveraging free Wi-Fi from the city when they have lost commercial communications. And because we have a resilient backhaul with our fiber. And also students and tourists come from other countries and they don't want to spend a lot of money in international roaming. They can use free public Wi-Fi. So it's a lot of benefit from that hyperconnectivity for the entire community.
Well, you've answered a lot of this, but I still want to ask the question. I mean, so for the average citizen, the average business, you've mentioned a couple of examples, but you know, what justifies this very high level of investment? Because whenever you're spending your dollars, right, you've got to justify the living daylights out of it. So what's the case you make, I guess I would say, to council about why you need this continuous investment and this continuous upgrade of everything you're doing?
Number one, safety, public safety. Emergency risk response is paramount. So that by itself justifies to having that resiliency so we can maintain critical services like 911, first responders, communication with citizens during normal times, and also for public safety. Second, a lot of that has to do with economic growth also. So we help the business community, the customers, and also there are many studies. For example, there was a study by the Brookings Institute that demonstrated with data and analytics that municipalities and metro areas that invested in broadband and smart policing and smart public safety technologies, they realized over a small period of maybe 3 to 4 years, up to 3x increase in the bottom line, basically, economic growth. So there's a direct correlation between economic growth and investment in broadband infrastructure and also safety, public safety infrastructure, because that lowers the risk of doing business. So when we lower crime, for example, for the community and also for businesses, that also incentivates also business, improves the bottom line, and also the trust of customers. So all that has a domino effect. Basically, everything we do in broadband is a force multiplier, improves education. So we saw during the pandemic, when the pandemic came, nobody predicted it. So it pretty much happened. And then we were ready. In many ways, we were ready with hyperconnectivity and infrastructure for telework, for education. So a lot of students leverage our free public Wi-Fi to connect to their schools. And also we have our remote workforce now that was working remotely. They were able to leverage a lot of the connectivity elements that we had. So basically we saw how broadband at the end is another utility, like power and water and sewer is is critical utility. We don't need to prove that business case anymore.
Well,
To be honest, after the pandemic,
yeah,
the
the pandemic provided
crisis
a lot of this for
explained
us.
that by itself. Yes.
It's funny though. I still think that you made a very good point, and I want to get Rob's view on this. I mean, I still find a lot of cities, a lot of counties, particularly ones that are still struggling to get the kind of broadband they need. They don't really grasp the force multiplier aspect, the fact that this one thing produces multiple impacts, each one of which also then reinforces all the others, and you get this marvelous cycle. Rob, I mean, you've advised a lot of network builders about this kind of thing. What's your view?
Yeah, well, I mean, as a recovering broadband technologist, I appreciate Raimundo's enthusiasm for that level of connectivity in a community. And certainly we observed when we were there, very, very well connected. But I think that, what might be getting lost is what's more important is that technology, that connectivity enabled the whole platform to come together. So it's cameras, it's sensors, it's devices that people can access the network from. And more importantly, it's the GIS, right? To be able to collect all of that data and put it into a digital twin. And I still point to this day to Coral Gables as a fantastic example of a digital twin. And people might think, well, that's great. So you have this, the city kind of modeled online that I can look at and open data. But if you can just stretch your mind to think about some of the things that we saw, like being able to heat map where people walk on the street, so that you can then inform economic development of where good places for advertising might be, or where a good place to place a restaurant might be. Or if you're able to take your big events in the city and track where people happen to be moving about, or if somebody gets lost, having that level of detail, which in the document I did call City as a Platform, being able to have not just the GIS of the streets and the lights, but also of the buildings and all the other elements of the city, really creates this tool that allows you to better understand how people interact with the infrastructure.
It's interesting. In retail, right, the three most important words are location, 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 but nobody really knows what a good location is, except maybe in Coral Gables you do, because got so much information. That's really a good example. Thank you. And I agree with you. I mean, it's not just the technology, but I'm also going to pivot a little bit and say it also takes the people to power that technology. So, Rob, in your report, you wrote about three different things. Gables Tech Tank, about a hackathon that was hosted by the city and the University of Miami there in the city, which ended up leading to something more permanent, an internship program, and finally a partnership with Miami TechWorks. So could you just give us sort of a view of what you saw in terms of the state of workforce development there?
Yeah, I mean, I could sum it all up in one word, and I would call it a pipeline. Literally engaging students at the high school level to get involved in city technology and city building technology, or application development and GIS that we've already talked about. But not just high school, getting college and university students involved, and even getting people who are perhaps out of the workforce and back into retraining. And to be able to get the input that Coral Gables gets from the private sector and from academia to help them understand what the needs of the city are, and then help build those pieces or get that talent developed, so that the corporations who do choose that as their headquarters have that pipeline available to them. And I was really impressed with the way that came together.
Raimundo, it's interesting, right? I'm always fascinated by the fact that if you're going to do this job well, your job or a job of somebody in economic development or something else, you can't just stay in your swim lane, right? So you, as a chief innovation officer, as a CIO, are also deeply involved in this whole educational workforce development. How do you make that work in your busy life?
I have always had a vocation for that in certain way. As a member of the IEEE for many years, I have been participating in committees to help young engineers, to get into the profession. Also, as part of the Florida Engineering Society, I am part of the mentorship program, engineering mentorship program. So every year I get to 3 or 4 young engineers that they are starting in their career. They are still in university, and I try to give them some guidance, some experience, and also listening, because I always say we learn maybe more from them than them from us, because you are learning from new generations and the new vision and ideas and the way how they work. So our most important capital is our human capital. So that works as an organization and also as a community.
Yeah.
As a community, that capital that we are forming in middle school, in high school, colleges, universities. So not only they are going to be the citizens of the future, but they are also, or they are the citizens of today, but they are going to be the engaged citizenry of the future. They are also the leaders, the upcoming leaders. So everything we are passing through this journey, and we have to make a difference, and we have to also pave the way for the next generations. So that's what we're doing. So we are transitory here. So we are passing by, and we are making a difference, and we are helping others. So we formed that pipeline that Rob, when I was listening to Rob speaking, really, I get a little bit of goosebumps, because that brings back a little bit that journey that we have done, trying to make an impact also in our community, in the pool of talent in our community. There was a time in Coral Gables where you had a lot of young generation people and students from university that they graduated and they leave. So it's a small community. So basically, we form the talent, and they leave, they fly away, go to other cities, and a lot of that had to be with housing also. But there have been a lot of uh, housing development in the city that have now allowed a lot of those young members of our community to graduate from university and have their families and continue life here in our city. And other people from other cities and other municipalities and other regions to come to Coral Gables and also start their life and their family here. But there was a time that was common, and then there's always a need to create the conditions for them to find a job in our city, to find a job, a good paying job, and develop a career in our city. So you have those grandparents that they have to fly away to see their grandchildren, but now they maybe their children live here and they can see their grandchildren every day. So that kind of thing. So we worked hard for that. So we developed an incubator called Gables Tech Tank, but that was like an organic growth. We started with our lab, our laboratory. So our innovation and technology research lab and our internship program. We started like 15 years ago. First, like 10 students a year, then it grew to 20 students a year. And now, just this year that hasn't finished, we have had almost 50 students and interns. And we get them from high school. Actually, from middle school, we had a couple of students from middle school, very, very bright young students. From high school, from college, from undergrad programs, from graduate programs, and sometimes we get like postdoc fellows, people that are researchers, scientists working with PhDs, professors doing research. We started getting them from in Coral Gables, of course, our first relationship there, but also from FIU, my alma mater, and also we got them from Miami-Dade College. And then it started growing, and then today is more than 20 different universities and colleges, and we get them sometimes from out of state. So we had student researchers from Carnegie Mellon, from Pittsburgh, from Syracuse University. We got one from MIT, and we get them from Elon University, from North Carolina, etc. Georgia Tech. So now we get students from all from different places, but mostly from local universities and colleges. So we give them a micro credential, so it's very actionable. So I'm a pragmatic person, and I went through the industry and the private sector. So my mentality is very oriented to private sector in that sense. I want to give them the tools and the skills and the challenges very early in their profession, so they are challenged. So it's going to be hands-on. It's going to be work-oriented and solution-oriented. So they have to come and they have to develop a solution for the community. So in their portfolio, they can say, hey, I came to Coral Gables, I worked as an intern, student, or researcher. I developed a solution for the community. I made a difference, and I learned all these different technologies, hands-on. And they will get a micro credential. And then they get their first job sometimes using that as their first job experience, even before they get their degrees. So we help them find a job too. And then we got the incubator, and now we connect them with local businesses in Coral Gables, with other universities, and we help them to apply to other opportunities in the businesses, which we also help the businesses to get talent, because that's the other part that we have a lot of companies that, oh, I need somebody with experience in AI or data science or cybersecurity. And sometimes they thought in the past that they had to hire from out of state. No, they can hire here. So we have a talent pool. So we help connect the dots in all sense. It's a triple helix model that we work together with academia, like Rob said, and with industry. And over 170 student interns have passed through this program. Some of them now are vice presidents of big corporations, and one of them is a marketing VP in Manhattan. The other is in Microsoft managing the program of IoT nationwide in Seattle. One is in the U.S. Marines now in engineering. So you find them everywhere. And their first job experience was in our internship program. So we are very proud of them.
And Robert, the one thing that struck me when I met some of these students was the projects they were doing in Coral Gables were real projects that really needed to be done. You know, one set of students was flying drones to measure and assess the quality of the sidewalks so they could diagnose which ones might be repaired. Another student was making or digitizations of historical buildings, right? So these were real tangible products that deliver benefit to the city at the same time as benefit to the students.
It's fantastic. I'm reminded I've once had the privilege of interviewing Gwynne Shotwell, who runs SpaceX, basically for Mr. Musk, and I asked her how she hires, and she says, "Well, we hire nothing but new people, nothing people fresh out of school." He says, I always ask them one question, which is to have them tell me about something, some project they did, and I don't care what it is, where they feel like they really succeeded. And she wants to hear the pride, she wants to hear the development path that they took to it, and this would be very impressive to Ms. Shotwell. So
And if I may, Robert, just one comment. We have hired 16 out of those 170 interns. We have hired them. So that is, like you say, it serves as it's a long job interview.
it's a very
It's a
long
long job
job
interview
interview.
in the pipeline.
It's a pipeline.
What you both identified is because when Coral Gables, when you first start encounter it, what you think of is, wow, they've got all this tech and isn't that cool? But you really identified what I think is the secret sauce, right? It's about what we at ICF call being intelligent rather than just smart. It's about using public technology to signal that this is the place to do technology business, but also to build the workforce that requires, to support the tech startup community, to help your existing businesses innovate. And always, 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 I think you've said it beautifully, Raimundo, it's about ensuring that the public technology contributes to the citizen quality of life. So my last question is, I understand that it's one of the mayor's priorities there to engage everyone with outreach, which I think is kind of a big ambition, but a great one. How does the city take advice from its people, right? It's easy to do one-way communications, but that suggests that we're going to actually listen to our people and help that inform the decisions that are made by the departments there at Coral Gables.
So yes, we have a very engaged community. And on one side, the city has 35 citizen advisory boards that inform decision making. They are quasi-judicial boards. So basically, their determination informs policy making and informs decision making. So, and they are made of volunteers, citizens that are SMEs, subject matter experts in their areas, like the Board of Architects. They are volunteer architects, professional architects in the city. The Board of Transportation, the Transportation Advisory Committee, is made of engineers that live in the city and they volunteer, etc. Education Advisory Board, Disability Advisory Board, made of people with disabilities that they inform the city to make their solution, their infrastructure and their services more accessible and more inclusive. And we have them in all the areas. So those 35 advisory boards play a big role in from the budget process to prioritization of initiatives to also when we are implementing a new technology. For example, when we were implementing the city's recent new mobile app or the city's new city website digital experience platform, we use them as focus groups or as that Delphi technique when you get the input from experts and that informs the way how you manage a project implementation. They act as advisors or steering committees throughout the implementation of the project. So we try to, with quality of life critical projects, we try to involve them from the ideation process. So it is a co-creative process, but from the ideation. Not too late when you already made the decision or you already designed what you're gonna do, and then you bring their input. It's too late. It's too late because it doesn't steer pretty much the process of design and ideation. So we bring them early to the process. So the city has many other ways, of course, the same way how government has communicated and engaged their community for centuries, town halls, commission meetings. So those ways that have been around since democracy exists, I guess. And the city has commission meetings. Today we had a major commission meeting and we had citizens providing input and speaking about issues, or they use our platform that we have from the city clerk's office when they can submit comments and they can engage with every item that is being discussed in the policy. Also during the budget process, like I mentioned before. So we follow a framework that is called the NIST Baldrige Community of Excellence Framework. Basically, it's a framework of the National Institute of Standards and Technology that was created by a visionary person by Malcolm Baldrige, who was a great leader. And he created that framework. Basically, that allows us to align every initiative, every project in the city across functions with the needs and priorities of the stakeholders of the citizens. Basically, we have alignment. The city has strategic management goals that are realigned every year. and our funded priorities. All that with citizen input, of course. And then we create those different initiatives, and every project in every department, like in my department, has an index number that aligns with one of those goals. The goals can be improving customer experience, improving transportation and mobility, improving public safety, improving the efficiency of government services. Those are broad goals and moonshots. Every department has initiatives that align with those goals. So we don't work in silos. So we have to have horizontal integration across functions, and we all work together as one team. So I work together with the police chief and the fire chief on public safety projects. We all work together. And we work together with public works on infrastructure projects. We work together with finance and HR on digital transformation projects. So it's a teamwork that also that framework allows us to keep alignment. So if you go to the city's budget document, you will see how we follow the framework, and we make sure that we report KPIs and success metrics based on those aligned initiatives and goals. So that helps us also to involve the citizens from the beginning. So town halls, also surveys, we do a community rating survey every 2 years. We send to everybody, we get about 14% response index, which statistically in Lean Six Sigma, that's good, that gives you good confidence. No? And then we send them even by on paper, so in low tech paper or door hangers, but also digitally by email. And we get responses, and we have university experts, policy experts, and professors doing a scientific analysis outside of the city. So we extricate ourselves from the process, and we have experts in community analysis that they gave us the results and the recommendations. So basically, the city is not part of the analysis process. It's done by academia or by experts in the research institutions. So that gives us the pain points, the pain point areas and the priorities. So what are the pain points that the citizens want us to improve? And those are 360 input to our strategic plans, that we can prioritize things. Myself in technology, when I hit a pain point like, oh, the permit process needs to be improved. So I assign resources to improve the permit process together with all the other departments. So we work together on that. So those are things that also are done digitally. We also use artificial intelligence and machine learning to analyze public sentiment. So we have artificial intelligence systems that they listen to the voice of the customer and to the discourse of the community in TV channels or blogs or open public discourse, and gives us a word clouds and input that we use for analysis too.
Well, I guess it's time for me to sell the house and move to Coral Gables. That's all I can say. That
Welcome.
has to be, unfortunately, the end of our conversation today. This has been a master's course in how to run a city. Raimundo, Rob, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. And Rob, once again, thank you for serving as an ICF auditor this year.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you all so much.
Many cities and regions look to ICF to help them accelerate. We offer a strategic framework they can adapt to their unique needs. We can assess where they stand today and their potential for progress. And we provide economic and community development services to support them along the way, including certification as an intelligent community. And you can learn more about all of that at intelligentcommunity.org. While you're there, you can find a detailed profile of Coral Gables by clicking on our network menu. You can also explore having ICF certify your city or region as an intelligent community. Just visit icfcertification.com for details. Intelligence Test is back next month, with more exploration of what it takes to make a city or a region succeed in our hyper-accelerating digital century. For ICF, this is Robert Bell.